Dune Part 2 just came out, and I'll tell you right now, it's a must-watch. Like, I'm not goofing around here. I got you in a whooshy finger hold. You need to watch this movie. I personally loved Dune Part 1, but it was definitely lacking in a way that would make me understand if the average Joe couldn't really get into it. I mean, it was basically half a movie. Dune Part 1 had some great moments, but it was focused mainly on building a world and the characters in it, effectively hooking you into the universe to set up for the sequel. The downside that came with that, though, is that the first movie was like being a fat guy on a treadmill with a donut in front of you. You're so close to getting it, but you can't quite reach the satisfaction of the donut. And like I said, I did really like the first one, but Dune Part 2 is just much more chaotic and entertaining, building upon the first movie's setup to make a large-scale flurry of crazy shit. The first thing I have to praise this movie on is the visual and sound design. Everything looked incredible, just like the first film, and somehow a world made completely out of sand didn't piss me off to look at for 3 hours.
I don't like sand. It's coarse, rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
All of the architecture, weapons, and vehicles were visually stunning, and holy shit, those worms were awesome. Now, I am a little biased because the actor for the sandworms in this movie was actually Mai Johnson, but the Alaskan bullworms just felt so imposing in every scene they were in. When Paul rides that big-ass sandworm for the first time, I was staring in awe like a fat guy on a treadmill looking at a dump. They ride the worms a lot in this movie, which looked great, but I really don't get why the worms don't just roll over and kill them all. There's just no way Paul's skeleton ass is beating that worm in a tug-of-war contest with those little hooks he's using. Also, I saw the Dune 2 popcorn bucket. You thinking what I'm thinking? All of the scenes on the bald guy's home planet, Baldtopia, are in black and white as a stylistic choice because of the black sun the planet orbits around, which I actually thought was a great contrast and change of pace from the tsunami of beige on Arrakis. And apparently they used an infrared camera when filming for the outdoors of Baldtopia because the sun emits infrared light, which I don't really know what that does and I can't read, but it sounds cool, so I'm all for it. The sound design in Dune 2 was incredible. Every song fit with the atmosphere perfectly, and the sounds made everything so much more impactful. The scenes with the worms especially just struck me with how powerful they felt. Also, I just love those movies with music that's like some lady screaming random shit into a microphone like Another amazing part of this movie was the fight scenes. The choreography was executed great, and the way the sand people fought was really cool. All quick and sneaky like, doing flips and shit. It was awesome. It really felt like there was a purpose to each move they did, and that both parties in the fights were actually trying to do damage. Which seems like that should be a given, but there's also shit like this in blockbuster movies. This movie further marked Timothée Chalamet as an incredible actor. I mean, his range between Dune Part 2 and Wonka is insane. Watching his character develop from whispering all of his lines to becoming the confident, loud-talking, deep voice-having leader was one of, if not the best part of this movie. The love story between Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet felt pretty natural and believable to me for the most part. There were some cheesy scenes between the two of them, but they got counteracted by the big-ass worms, so it never really bothered me. Austin Butler played one of the bald guys in this one, a very important bald guy, and he did a phenomenal job as well. He played a kind of sadistic, insane guy that would just kill people for no reason, but it wasn't in a cornball way like that shit-stained performance by Jared Leto's Joker.
Are you sweet-talking me?
He genuinely seemed imposing and unstable in this film. Apparently Austin Butler didn't have the nards on him to shave his head for this role, so he was pretty obviously wearing a bald cap the whole time, but it was a great performance. Big ass head. With some really incredible acting. Big ass head. Timothée Chalamet's character is prophesized to be a messiah to the sand people in this world, and I think his performance was so good that this messiah effect genuinely resonated with Josh Brolin, because he released a book about making this movie with a poem to Timothée Chalamet that read, "Your face is etched by adolescence. Your cheekbones jump toward what are youth-laden eyes that slide down a prominent nose and onto lips of a certain poetry. And the way you hold my gaze makes me fear my own age, because something in me tells me you're gonna offer me something. And For now, I'm not sure it's gonna be something that I want anymore. You gotta calm down, bro. Thanos cannot be saying all that. I wouldn't say this is a perfect movie by any means. I do have some problems with it. First off, what the hell are you wearing, Miss Pugh? I know you didn't show up wearing that Pawn to G4 ass outfit. Also, Paul is a bit of a psychic in this movie, and he's able to see the future, which caused him to do some shit that didn't really seem in character pretty suddenly. Doctor Strange in it a little bit and making the viewer rely on the fact that he's following some future path that'll make sense in the end. This was definitely intentional, it was just a little shocking to me as the sweet young innocent boy that I am. And that about wraps up my problems with the movie. There was a part of Paul and Johnny's relationship that didn't really make sense to me, but I can't disclose it without spoiling. I would say Dune definitely has the potential to be one of the great movie franchises like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars before the sequels. And if they wrap up the story with the same quality they showed in this film, my prediction will be confirmed. And you know what? I'll say it. I already think Dune's better than Star Wars. That is 100% my opinion, but you can fight me about that. Your lightsaber versus my Worm Johnson. In conclusion, I'm gonna give Dune Part 2 a Tweedle patented score of 8.4 out of 10. Not only did this movie captivate me with the astounding work and talent that went into it, it also represented a severely mistreated minority in this world through its race of entirely bald people. So if you haven't watched Dune Part 2, watch it. And if you have, ride that Alaskan bullworm straight into the subscribe button for me.
Consider what you're about to do, Paul Atreides.